Welcome to Grit and Gravitas with Ann and Annie, bringing you savvy, spirited stories of success. We're excited to deliver 30 minutes of inspiration, impact, and goodness. We'll be bringing you guests and friends from around the country who have very special work and personal journeys. I'm Ann Deeter Gallaher, your co-host with Annie Carnathan, and this is Grit and Gravitas. Let's go! I'm super excited to have a very special, we say this every time, Annie, very special guest in the podcast studio for Grit and Gravitas. This young lady has both of those qualities. I have long been inspired by Kristal Turner-Childs. We are beyond grateful that you're going to join Annie and myself for 30 minutes.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I am just, I just love when women come together and we just kind of get together and just speak our truth. That's what I'm looking forward to.
We are all about that.
Yes.
Can I just say the level of the room when Kristal walked in? I mean, this woman, and we can see on video if you're looking on YouTube, is bodacious. She has it going on. I mean, just so graceful, so attractive, and yet I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side, right?
I know, we're on the good side.
Yeah,
right?
I do think there's just that power and that awareness. So really,
there is
really
energy.
excited to have you.
Kristal, you said that earlier. Good energy.
Good energy.
You follow you on Instagram, I check it several times a day. And when you walked into the office, I feel like, do I want to go down, drop down and do push-ups? Or do I want to do something that looks like I'm really intentional about health and wellness, which we're going to get to too.
Yeah.
But I love your story. I mean, you've been an inspiration for more than 20 years in the capital city region. But you've changed some of your story now, and you have probably an even stronger emphasis on health and wellness.
Yes.
But can you give us a little backstory on the Pennsylvania State Police?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Currently, I serve as a member of the Pennsylvania State Police. This is my 23rd year. Wow.
Cheers.
As of February 23rd, 23rd year.
Brava.
And I'm serving now as a director of the Bureau of Forensic Services, which is awesome, so sexy. People that love CSI, you know what I mean? Like that's what I oversee.
The blood splatter stuff?
Yeah, the DNA, serology, trace evidence, ballistics. I oversee all of the labs across the state. And it's a tremendous responsibility because I like people to understand that we work on behalf of victims. Okay.
Wow.
Evidence comes in.
Give them a voice.
Correct. Evidence comes in, we process it, and we try to move as fast as we can to ensure that justice is served. So I have wonderful, phenomenal scientists as well as troopers that work in the lab.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely love being the director of the Bureau of Forensic Services. It's just been a great time. It's been a great time.
Well, thank you for your service with
Thank you.
that. And our theme here with Grit and Gravitas is savvy, spirited stories of success. And in amongst those, really in almost every podcast, we have setbacks and comebacks. And we talk about barriers to entry, for everyone. And the pandemic has really revealed a lot of gaps that we've discovered. But for you, going to college and choosing a career or pursuing a career in the Pennsylvania State Police for a female, for a woman of color, that had to be like what percentage?
Very small,
yes.
maybe like 1%.
So what were some of the barriers, or what was
Sure.
your thought process that would help everyone listening? Like, how did Kristal get there?
Let me just say that my story is a little bit different. I had a wonderful encounter with a Harrisburg City police officer when I was probably, in my early teens. I'm thinking 13, 14. Okay. I lived right in Allison Hill in Harrisburg, and there was a fight up the street. And when we were young, when there was a fight, you ran to the fight. You didn't run from it. You ran to it because you wanted to see who was going to win. Well, when I ran up the street to the fight, there was a young man, and he's laid out on the asphalt. His head is cracked open, and there's blood like trickling down the asphalt. My first thought was to turn and run and go dial 911. long ago. You know, I've been a
Yes,
state trooper for
yes.
22 years, so you know how long it's been. We had trim line phones back
Right.
then. So I ran back.
We did too.
Ran back to dial 911, and police came, ambulance came, all those things. What I did not know as a young person is police have an obligation to go to the point of origin of a 911 call. So as I'm on the porch watching everything, the police officer starts heading in our direction. I didn't ask permission to use my mother's phone. So when the police officer comes up on the porch and he says, "Who dialed 911?" I was like, standing there, and my mom's looking. I ain't dial, and I go, "Me," and he goes, "Hey, you probably saved that young man's life today.
Wow.
You did the right thing." Well, when he said that, I felt 10 feet tall, and I was thinking, oh my goodness. And so from that point forward, I had this curiosity about police officers, and I always had wonderful encounters with them, even when they would come through the block or whatever. And so when I went off to college up at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and I encountered a Pennsylvania state trooper,
I read that.
got pulled over
You
for
were going,
speeding.
what, 25 miles an hour?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wish, because my pockets were a little loose after that.
Yes.
But got pulled over by a state trooper, and he steps out of the vehicle. And I mean, it was like the guy was,
Imposing.
he's like 6'5", it seemed like to me. And, his uniform was starched and it looked sharp, and his hat was down. And he leaned down into the window and he goes, "Ma'am," and trooper, whatever his name was. That was the first time I had been called ma'am, so I didn't really hear what his name was. I was just like, he called me ma'am. He said, do you know why I stopped you? And of course, you know what we all say. No. And he says, "You were speeding, license, registration, and insurance." So I did the thing that I was taught. I'm on 10 and 2. "It's in the glove box. Can I get it?" And he said, "Yes." And I get it. And he goes back, and I'm looking at him in the rearview mirror, and I'm thinking, wow, look how good he looks. I'm thinking, because he was attractive. But I was thinking, look how good he looks. But also the fact that he was so professional. Mm-hmm. He wasn't no yelling or screaming,
Treated you
any
with
of that.
respect.
Huge impact.
Dignity and respect.
Huge impact.
I was just like, wow. So when he comes back and he gives me this ticket, right? I said, thank you. Probably shouldn't have, but I said, thank you. And he just told me, drive safely. And when I got back to college, here I am dating myself again. I go to the library and I look up the Pennsylvania State Police because I wanted
That's
to read.
awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to know who they were, what they were about. How come this is my first time ever encountering them? Are they only on this side of the state? I didn't know anything about the state police. So I did the work to do some research, and I found out that there were only, maybe 7-8% minority, even less minority females.
Sure.
And I believe at that time, Colonel Ron Sharp had become the commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police while I was in college, and he was on the cover of Jet magazine. He was in Jet magazine. Oh. I used to read Jet, so I was like, "Who's this dude?" And he's the commissioner. It's a black guy. Like, seriously? So that even gave me more fire to want to know more about the Pennsylvania State Police. I had to leave college early because I ran out of funding. I'm first generation college, so we didn't know much about how to pay for college or all those things. So I had to leave early and come home and get a job. So I came back here to Harrisburg, and I got a job at Dauphin County Prison.
Wow.
And when I got the job at Dauphin County Prison, listen, great training ground. Do not be fearful of jobs in corrections. Teaches you great communication skills, because guess what? You don't have to lean on these things that we have as police officers on our belt. You have to use your mouth and your mind, and you're on the block, and you kind of have to
That's such great insight for any listener here. I mean, that's really.
You have to know your audience.
You have to, and you don't get to depend on. All I had was a one-way body. They called it a body alarm. It looked like a transistor radio, but it was only one way. And so it was like a panic button. So if you were in trouble, you hit it, and it would emit a loud pitched sound. And then all the guards
would come.
It would call all guards call, and all the guards would come. So all you have is you when you're talking and you're dealing with other people. But I loved it because it gave me a chance to read body language, gave me the opportunity to learn how to communicate with people from all different types of backgrounds. It was a good training ground for me. And who knew it would help prep me for moving on to the Pennsylvania State Police.
So you clearly don't have a fear factor. your line of work and your choice as a female, again, going into a prison setting. So you have this confidence is coming from where? How do you feel confident, capable enough to go into these settings and feel, talk to yourself, say, I can do this. I'm a leader. I can communicate well. Where does that come from?
I think it comes from, I was born in Mocksville, North Carolina. If you look it up, it's maybe 10 square miles. It's a small town. At the time I was there, it was one red light and red dirt.
Oh, my word.
Yeah. And I remember going to the bathroom in a chamber pot. I remember my grandmother having to babysit me because my mom worked and walking me down this dirt road where it was red dirt across the street to get on the bus stop, to get at the bus and get on the bus to go to kindergarten. I remember all those things. I remember my grandmother's house sitting up on blocks. It was a wooden house. Yeah. And I remember black snake crawling underneath. And I just remember overcoming all of those obstacles. I remember vividly. So, having moved here to Pennsylvania, having been able to go to college, even though I had to leave early, getting a job, and I just remember overcoming. And so every time things like these came up, I look at it as an opportunity. This is an opportunity to increase my salary, because eventually what I want to do is get back to college. That's what Dauphin County Prison afforded me.
Great
opportunity. And then while I was there, while I'm here, what can I learn while I'm here? I learned how to interact with all different types of people. So that's the way I overcome fear. I look at fear as opportunity. I like to say that it's not that I don't experience fear, but when it comes in, I like to take a bite of it. Yeah.
So I think you should start a class on that. That would be good, and I would sign up.
One of the things when someone is accomplished now at this point in your life, you go back and you tell your story, and you link all the grains of sand onto what is now the mile-long beach, and it's beachfront, and we have the view, and we watch the sun go up and we go down, and we think, wow. So what's interesting is how that journey meandered. But when you go back now to tell it, you know exactly all those touch points that glued everything together for why you're sitting where you're sitting. And I'm a big things happen for a reason. Yep. Every single thing. This interaction today and taking the time we're taking as women to push that out into the world is for a reason. Yeah. It's going to impact someone. And at every point in your journey, either you were really impacted or someone else was. And that's what I think is extraordinary. When we go back and make our own sort of history in the telling, how that led you exactly to the seat you're in today.
The setback of what you might have perceived at the beginning, leaving Indiana University and having to come home or running out of funds, which is very common. But then having that opportunity at Dauphin County Prison, which was the training ground. And, when we're in it, when we're going through, we see it as setback, and it's heartbreak and it's embarrassment, because I remember packing my things mid-semester and having to leave, and I was embarrassed and all those things. And that's what we feel at that moment. But for those people that are young and going through setbacks and embarrassment and heartbreak, try to find that ray of sunshine in there and just try to figure out, what can I learn from this? Because I'm telling you, as you move on, you're going to come back and you'll say, I see now. And it's going to illuminate so
then
large
it's 2020
for you.
Vision.
Yes. So I think this podcast is amazing because you're talking to people and they're telling their stories, and hopefully there are some people out there, men and women, that are going through situations, and now they're saying, wait a minute, they're not so polished as it appears. They had struggles. They had setbacks. There was times when they weren't sure how they were going to pull themselves out. And look at us. And we continue to keep going. And I think if there's nothing else that you get from me, just keep going. Just keep going.
Well, what we all have in common for your setback, and all of us, we had a whole episode on that, and Annie wants us to do more on that because we really learn in the failures.
Yes.
And I'm here to raise my hand. I've had some big ones, but a simple changing of perspective. So, you're embarrassed. I can almost feel that emotion when you're describing it. We've all been there, especially at a younger age where you think your peers, you're either in your teens or young 20s, like, oh, I thought this was going to really be my ticket. And now everybody's watching as I have to leave my office or quit my job or whatever. But when one person comes into your life and all of a sudden gives you a little twist of that was A and this is B. This is, this isn't the end of your
not the end.
road. You're just starting a whole new journey.
Yeah.
And I think that little bit of hopefulness, and that's what I love when your inspiration and your hope and seeing your trajectory and successes, Annie's too, at the level of, in the C-suite is so encouraging because there's no playbook for any of this.
Nope.
And I think the pandemic exposed that. Is that if
my
you
gosh.
thought you knew the way before, guess what? We're all rock bottom, and we're trying to get back up again, and we are getting back up again and finding new ways. One aspect of your life that I love is you have just invested and thrown yourself into health and wellness for women and new opportunities. Tell us a little bit about Fempowered.
Oh wow, Fempowered LLC.
And I want those.
Is that your side hustle, Kristal?
It is my side hustle.
Because it's a big one.
But it's actually my side passion. It's my passion. Fempowered LLC came about because when I joined the Pennsylvania State Police, when I worked in the prison, I gained a large amount of weight. I had gained like 100 pounds. And I didn't even, how you're going about your day to day, you don't even realize you gained the weight.
Right.
You
100%.
You don't. You just, even though you're buying larger sizes or clothes don't fit as well, you just keep going, and then you always think, oh, I'll lose it.
Yeah.
Springtime comes, I'll drop it. And it just keeps piling on and piling on. And I didn't even realize how much weight I had gained until my back was hurting. And I went to the doctor and he puts me on the scale. And God knows we hate the scale. So when I get on the scale and he, the nurse's assistant is doing the big chunk. Well, she moved the big chunk over. Boom. And then I was like, ooh. And then she had to take the other big one, which that never happened to me before. That other one, big one. I was like, oh my God, I was 240 pounds. I go into the waiting room and I'm just like, oh my God. I go into the room where he's coming to see me and he walks in and he says, think I know why your back hurts. He says, you're 240 pounds. I was like, oh my God. And that was when I had this
defining moment.
It was. I mean, I had been on medication.
Yeah.
I was, that didn't do it. But, on blood pressure medication, that didn't set off a bulb in me, because when I went on the medication, they said, oh, it's hereditary. And so the first thing I thought was, not my fault. It's hereditary.
Right.
I couldn't do anything about it. And so just him saying 240 pounds, I was like, oh my God. But look what happens.
Yeah.
I'm at Dauphin County Prison and we had gotten health insurance, and the health insurance allowed us to go to the gym.
Ooh.
On the health insurance plan. Right? I was like, whoa. So my friend, one of the other COs, his name is Todd. Todd and I started going to work out together. We carved out time for us to go work out. We had to punch in at Dauphin County Prison at 5:50 in the morning.
Wow.
AM. We would be at the gym. We said we will meet at the gym every morning at 3:30. So that 3:30 AM, so that we could do our cardio. And then after work, we would go back and weight train. And we did it. Now, in the midst of all this, what you all need to know is I had applied at the Pennsylvania State Police. This is how the universe works. I had applied at the state police, got letters telling me, no, you didn't make the list. You didn't make the list. So I decided to focus on getting my weight off and started losing this weight. When I lost 70 pounds,
Wow.
a letter came in the mail and said, hey, if you're still interested in state police, we have physical agility testing. Did you hear what I said? Physical agility testing. Could I have done
Never would have been able to do that 70 pounds ago.
70
That's
pounds
exactly
ago.
right.
Absolutely not.
That's
but I have
crazy.
been working out now.
That's crazy.
And this letter comes and says, we have physical agility testing. This is the date. If you're interested, let us know. Awesome. And here I am. Yeah.
So I'm famous for rabbit holes. You know, I'm the puppy bouncing around on the carpet. So you're taking what I think the 3 legs of the stool to every woman is, and it's mental, it's physical, it's spiritual.
Yes.
There is not, in my opinion, a more sensitive subject to women than their body.
Absolutely.
Period. Could be their face, could be their boobs, could be their butt, could be their legs, could be their hair, their eyebrows. And I believe, as anything, I'm all about self-love. You love the one you're with. Well, yes. I'm with me all the time. I would prefer to love me. Yep. So what do I have to do, right, in that relationship to keep loving me? And you've bitten off, again, one of the most emotional topics. And I think, of course, it's mental. I think it's physical, but it's spiritual. We have more spiritual warfare going on within us. And how do you reconcile the fact that some women will just never achieve whatever goal it is they have weight-wise?
Because the focus is not the weight, not the physical weight, not what the scale appears. The focus is here. It's the mental weight. We have to reconcile ourselves with what's going on here mentally. I submit to you that when I was overweight, it had nothing to do with, the eating had nothing to do with the taste of food. The eating had to do with emotional depression, comfort, just not feeling good, support, still feeling embarrassed because I had left college and worrying about what other people thought.
100%.
Okay.
That.
Those were the things that were weighing heavy. And I had to say, you know what? This isn't about what everybody else thinks. This is about how I am taking care of this physical body so I can help myself mentally. And what I did was I tapped into a resource that I remember way back in high school. When I was in high school, I played basketball. I played softball. I played field hockey. And I can remember I tapped into that and I said to myself, when did I feel good? Yeah. After exercise, after doing something physical, after engaging with other people on a physical level. And I said, I want to get back to that feeling. I want to have that all the time. And so that was what working out did for me. And then I felt it coming back when I lost the 70 pounds. And then, then I would yo-yo because life happened.
And it's not linear. There's nothing to say, I'm going to work on this, and it's always going to be a linear reduction. Right. There's ebbs and flows. Your body goes through different things. Yep. Stress and cortisol have so much to do with how your body's fighting, right, to keep functioning.
Yes. And so I would ebb and flow. And what has happened to me now, though, with Fempowered LLC is now I see I recognize the ebb and the flow.
And can communicate that.
And I communicate it
to other people. Yep.
And even to myself on a daily basis. And so now I'm all about energy. So when I'm speaking to you about feeling good, like people say, oh, you look good. I say, but I feel so much better. And that's intentional. It's intentional because I want people to know what you see is the outer me, but the inside me feels so much better. And so when I recognized that, I said, you know what? I got to do this. I got to give this to other people.
Got to pay it forward.
I want to share this. I can't walk around and keep this to myself. I want to give this
Well, you
over.
don't. We feel it.
Yeah,
we absolutely feel it.
But the biggest point to that, Kristal, is you're the biggest beneficiary of that. So it's not like you're going to get to 100 pounds and say, oh my, this is going to change everything,
No.
and it changes none of that. Because to your point, and I say this all the time, it's an inside job. You have to want it for you. It's such a highly personalized thing, and people are in charge of their bodies, right? And I think it's move more, eat sensibly,
eat
right?
sensibly. Like,
Yeah.
I even, the ladies that I work with now, we even talk about eating, and I'm not a tyrant when it comes to eating, because I like a cupcake here and
Yeah.
there. But what I want you to do is just be sensible about what you're eating. And remember, let's have all of the colors on our plate.
Moderation.
And in moderation. I like wine. I plan to have some this evening. But
It is Friday.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
I mean,
so
yeah.
I want people to just understand.
Not be so rigid.
Don't be rigid.
Yeah.
You can still live. But guess what? The living gets so much better when you make better choices about the things that we're putting inside of our bodies. And longer too. I'm no longer on any high blood pressure medication.
Wow.
Not
Wow.
one not one
Wow.
medication. Not one.
I just want, at the beginning, I say to Anne, why your own business at 40, right? Why that mountain? And she said, because I never like being told what to do. So people think, oh, but if I want that Snickers bar, I'm not allowed to have it. So somebody's telling me I can't have that, which makes you want it.
Makes you want it more.
It's human nature. Whereas if we can just sort of get into our head of a comfort level that's just better for us.
Just better for
and
us.
I just want everyone to live longer, and I want them to live a higher quality life.
Yes.
And we all know the fitter you are, whatever that definition is, and I don't care what package someone's in, I don't care who someone loves, I don't care where they worship, we need to find love and acceptance wherever we can, but it has to start with us. Yes. And so what does that look like? And who can help you get there? Because you're the only one ultimately that can. Mm-hmm. And it's that self sort of accountability that I think is difficult because it's hard.
We had a session this week with the ladies, and we took Monday. I canceled Monday because of weather, but I believe we came back on Wednesday, and we were working out, and some of them had eaten some things that they didn't necessarily like, some fried stuff, foods that they didn't necessarily should have eaten or wanted to eat, but they ate it because they were sitting at home and things like that. But when we came back to work out, they automatically recognize the difference in how their bodies felt and functioned. And oh my God, I was thinking, I said, oh my God, do you not see what just happened? This revelation. Now you really can understand. You make the connection between what you're putting in your body and how it affects you and how you perform. I said, I'm never going to be the person to restrict you or tell you don't do this or don't do that. But now you see, you feel it. And so
Put the wrong gas in your car, and how does your car operate?
Exactly.
At some point, it's absolutely going to break down on you.
Yeah. So now they get it. And I love that. I love seeing that light bulb go off.
I think you have a great passion for service to others, or you wouldn't have chosen the career you did, and you certainly wouldn't have poured yourself into FemPowered. And Annie does too. And I think part of that is your ability to inspire others. Now, you've created this opportunity, and like you said, we're in charge of ourselves at the end of the day. That's a challenge. It's sometimes much easier to say, but if my parents didn't do this, I wouldn't have chosen this route or whatever. But there's people depending on us. Your group of women are depending, their life choices are depending on your role model, the opportunities you've created. Annie's got a young son still. I've got, sons and daughter-in-laws and grandchildren now watching everything we do. And I think in any upsides of the pandemic have been that we've really chosen, better eating habits or walking more, less TV, getting out in nature. Our state parks in Pennsylvania have had more than 1 million over the top visitors, which I think is glorious.
Great. Yeah.
Getting outside, they say sitting is the new smoking. So your message and inspiration to others, and especially young people, is so encouraging to me. And we're in an Instagram age. And I think, the younger audience can send different types of messages, but they need to hear the reality of, 10 years of bad eating choices takes its toll. And it will affect your family. It never just affects us.
I mean, if you, again, we have to make the choice for ourselves. But if we're also making choices for ourselves, then we need to understand that there are people that are depending on us. And regardless of how you feel about that, somebody is depending on you and looking at you. I have a 4-year-old niece, and Parker is amazing. And just to know that she's thinking about me, she picked the phone up and called me the other day. And just to say, Auntie, what are you doing?
Nothing better.
You know, it's the greatest feeling in the world.
But she probably wants to be you when she grows up.
So I think about her, and, you know, a lot of times, you know, just to have that extra push, or I look at her picture and I think she's depending on me. And so if nothing else, we have to do it for ourselves, number one, but there are people depending on you.
Yes, we're
That's
connected.
the motivation.
Connected community. We end every segment, Kristal, with what we call a business vitamin, and we've had lots of them here in the 30 minutes. But do you have a piece of high gear advice that you would leave to our listeners or viewers if you're watching on YouTube? A source of inspiration or something you've learned that will help them in their life?
Wow, I just put this up the other day. I declare and decree that this is the last, that whenever you say this is that from this point forward, no is not an option. No is not.
We have our marching
option.
orders. There we go.
Yes.
Kristal Turner-Childs, thank you so much for spending 30 minutes in Grit and Gravitas, and you will be invited.
You
back
are
for
fabulous.
more.
Yeah, we got to bring
Thank
you back.
you.
I have so many more questions that.
This was amazing. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed it.
Good. Yeah, you'll definitely be back. We're saying that about everyone, which I think is good. We got to keep telling this story.
That's our
'cause
business
I got
model.
a ton
Let's
of
just keep
questions,
it going. Let's keep it going.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. It's our desire that these stories will bring energy, ideas, and fresh thinking that you can use today. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram, and have a high gear day.